welcome back to English for Specific Purposes, Level A2. We are your hosts. I am Mr. Carter and
I'm Miss Sophie. Today we are going to talk about business. But before that, let's look at our agenda. We are going to start with a little introduction. After that, we will learn new vocabulary related to business, and it will be followed by reading related to business.
After our reading, we will have a grammar lesson on comparative and superlative adjectives, followed by a quick summary, and after that, a little bit of homework.
გამარჯობა. კეთილი იყოს თქვენი დაბრუნება ტელესკოლაში. მე სოფო ვარ, ეს კი კარტერია. წინა ორი გაკვეთილი შეეხებოდა მედიის თემას, თუმცა ახლა ვისაუბრებთ ბიზნესზე. ვიდრე უშუალოდ ბიზნესის თემაზე გადავიდოდეთ, მოდით ერთად ვნახოთ დღევანდელი დღის გეგმა. ჩვენი გაკვეთილი დაიწყება მოკლე შესწავლით. ამის შემდეგ შევისწავლით ახალ სიტყვებს. შემდეგ კი გვექნება კითხვითი დავალება ბიზნესზე. ამის შემდეგ გვექნება გრამატიკული სავარჯიშოები ზეცართავის სახელის შედარებით და აღმატებით ფორმებზე, შემდეგ შევაჯამებთ გაკვეთილს და ბოლოს კი მოგცემთ საშინაო დავალებას. Let's get started.
Let's begin.
Mr. Carter, what types of business or companies do you know?
Miss Sophie, I actually only know two types. I know family-owned business and multinational companies. What types of business do you know?
Well, I know about private companies and I know about public companies. Mr. Carter, can you please tell us in which of these companies would you like to work if you had a chance?
If I had a chance, I would probably choose family-owned business because it's small and I get to work with my friends and family, or multinational company, therefore I could travel. What about you, Miss Sophie?
Well, if I had a chance, I would probably go for public company because it would give me chance to help and support people.
Now, let's move on to our first set of vocabulary.
გაიგეთ კარტერმა რა თქვა. გაკვეთილის ამ ნაწილში შევისწავლით ახალ სიტყვებს. Our first word is workforce. Workforce is noun, and in Georgian, it means შრომითი რესურსი.
In English, workforce is the total number of people that work for a business or company. So a family-owned business probably has a small workforce, while a multinational company might have a business in the hundreds or even thousands.
Workforce, შრომითი რესურსი. Workforce, შრომითი რესურსი. One more time. Workforce, შრომითი რესურსი.
Our next word is profit, and it is a noun. Miss Sophie, can you tell us the definition of profit in Georgian?
Profit in Georgian means მოგება.
Profit in English is the money you make in business by selling things or goods. The more successful a company is, most likely the bigger profit they will have.
Profit, მოგება. Profit, მოგება. One more time. Profit, მოგება. Our next word is employer. Employer is noun, and in Georgian, employer means დამსაქმებელი.
An employer is a person or organization that employs people. So, if you have an interview, the person that is interviewing you could be your employer.
It sounds great. Employer, დამსაქმებელი. Employer, დამსაქმებელი. Employer, დამსაქმებელი. Our next word actually sounds pretty similar to the previous one, employee. However, these two words have different meaning.
An employee is someone who works for someone else. So, the employer is the person that pays the employee.
Employee, დასაქმებული. Employee, დასაქმებული. One more time. Employee, დასაქმებული. Our next and the last word in this set of vocabulary is branch. Branch is noun, and in Georgian it means piliali.
A branch in English has two meanings. The first meaning you might think of is part of a tree. That is related to the meaning in business because a branch is part of a bigger company in a different location.
Branch, piliali. Branch, piliali. Branch, piliali.
Now, let's move on to our vocabulary activity in which we will match the words with the best sentences they fit.
გაკვეთილის ამ ნაწილში შევამოწმებთ რამდენად კარგად შეისწავლეთ ახალი სიტყვები. ეკრანზე მოცემულია წინადადებები, რომლებშიც გამოტოვებულია სიტყვები. მოდით ერთად მოვიფიქროთ გამოტოვებულ ადგილებს, რომელი სიტყვა შეესაბამება. Let's start.
Let's begin.
Our first sentence reads, companies, blank, is higher than last year. Mr. Carter, what do you think? What can be higher than last year in the company?
Well, only two things could possibly fit. Branch, employee, and employer are all singular. So it could be workforce or profit because they could be plural.
You are right, Mr. Carter. Let's check the right answer. It's profit. The company's profit is higher than last year. Our next sentence is,
Many companies in the region have a blank over 50 people. Miss Sophie, what do you think this could be?
since we have to deal with people and the people is given in a plural number, I think the right answer is workforce.
Very good, Miss Sophie.
Our next sentence is, the new blank needs training. Mr. Carter, what do you think the answer is?
Well, Miss Sophie, I don't think it's branch because that is a location and not
Definitely
a
not.
person.
Yes.
So it's either employer or employee. Most employers have experience and have training. An employee might not have training. The new employee
Especially.
needs training. Exactly.
Definitely. So the right answer would be employee. And we are right.
And we are right.
Let's look at our next sentence.
We need a recommendation from your blank.
Well, I don't think branch can give you a recommendation. I think it's employer.
I think you're right, Miss Sophie.
Employers are often asked to give recommendations to employees.
Yes, they are.
And our last and quite obvious answer to the sentence is, I used to work in a local branch of a large company.
Right. So a large company can have many branches across a country or across the entire world. A branch is just one part of that large company. Now, let's move on to our second set of vocabulary.
გაკვეთილის ამ ნაწილში შევისწავლით ახალი სიტყვების მეორე ნაწილს.
Our first word is collapse, and it is a verb. Miss Sophie, can you tell us what collapse means in Georgian?
Collapse is კრახი ან მარცხის განცდა.
And in English, it means to suddenly be unable to continue or work correctly.
Collapse კრახის ან მარცხის განცდა. Collapse კრახის ან მარცხის განცდა.
Collapse.
კრახის ან მარცხის განცდა. Our next word is trading. Trading is noun and it means ვაჭრობა.
Trading in Georgian is the activity of buying or selling goods.
Trading ვაჭრობა. Trading ვაჭრობა. One more time. Trading ვაჭრობა. Our next word is
Unemployment, and that is a noun. Miss Sophie, can you give us the definition of unemployment in Georgian, please?
definitely. Unemployment in Georgian means უმუშევრობა.
Unemployment in English is a situation which some people do not have work and do not have income. Unemployment is never a good situation to be in.
Yeah, it's not a good experience, definitely. Unemployment, umუშევრობა. Unemployment, umუშევრობა. Unemployment, umუშევრობა. Our next word is CEO, Chief Executive Officer. This word is very important in the business world. CEO is a noun, and in Georgian it means აღმასრულებელი დირექტორი. Mr. Carter, can you please tell us what CEO is in English?
A CEO is the most senior person in a company or organization, and they are responsible for running it. A CEO is like a president. It's the person with the most power and the most responsibility.
This is why being a CEO is not an easy job.
Not at all.
If you are a CEO, you need to deal with different employees.
Most likely a large workforce.
Definitely. CEO, აღმასრულებელი დირექტორი. CEO, აღმასრულებელი დირექტორი. CEO, აღმასრულებელი დირექტორი. Our next word is appoint. Appoint is a verb, and in Georgian it means თანამდებობაზე დანიშნა.
In English, it means to choose someone to do a particular job or for a particular position.
Mr. Carter, can CEO appoint different workers?
Yes, Ms. Sophie, CEOs have the power to do many things. One of the things they can do is appoint people to different positions that they think would do a good job.
Appoint, თანამდებობაზე დანიშნა. Appoint, თანამდებობაზე დანიშნა. Appoint, თანამდებობაზე დანიშნა. Our next word is loss. Loss is a noun, and in Georgian it means ზარალი ან დანაკარგი.
Loss in English means the fact that you no longer have something or have less of something. Loss in business means the opposite of profits. Without making profits, you make a loss. After too much loss, you could go out of business.
So loss is quite a negative word.
It's a very negative word.
Especially in a business world.
Especially.
Loss, დანაკარგი ან ზარალი. Loss, დანაკარგი ან ზარალი.
Loss,
დანაკარგი ან ზარალი. Our next and the last word is catastrophic. Catastrophic is an adjective and it sounds quite similar in Georgian. Catastrophic is კატასტროფული.
Catastrophic means causing a lot of damage or making many people suffer. Miss Sophie, can you give an example of something that's catastrophic?
I think natural disasters are quite catastrophic, like earthquakes, tsunamis.
Volcanoes can be catastrophic?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. They are catastrophic. Catastrophic, კატასტროფული. Catastrophic, კატასტროფული. Catastrophic, კატასტროფული.
Now, let's move on to our reading activity.
ახლა კი გაკვეთილის ამ ნაწილში წავიკითხოთ ტექსტი. When a company spends more money than they make, this can lead to losses. Sudden losses can make any company, no matter how big or small, collapse. And if one company is dependent on another company, this can cause multiple collapses, resulting in mass unemployment, which is always catastrophic.
Just because a company has a large workforce does not mean a company is rich. Any business, no matter how big or how small, must make profits. When companies make profit, they are able to pay their employers higher wages, which allows them to work better.
Many people want to be CEOs, but it's not easy. Being a CEO is not a position you can apply for. It is a position that you are often have to be appointed to. This includes companies like banks, trading companies, multinational corporations, and others. Being a CEO is a big job and is often very stressful because of all the responsibilities.
Now, let's move on to our reading activity in which we will determine if the sentences are true or false based on what we read.
ახლა კი გადავიდეთ კითხვის დავალებაზე, რომლის მეშვეობითაც შევამოწმებთ, რამდენად კარგად გავიგეთ ტექსტი. ეკრანზე მოცემული წინადადებები უნდა განვსაზღვროთ, შეესაბამება თუ არა ტექსტს. თუ წინადადება შეესაბამება ტექსტს, ამ შემთხვევაში ვამბობთ true, ხოლო თუ წინადადება არ შეესაბამება ტექსტს, ამ შემთხვევაში ვამბობთ false. And our first sentence is, being a CEO is easy.
Miss Sophie, I remember you just read something about CEOs.
You are right, Mr. Carter. This sentence is false because, as we read in the text, being a CEO is a big job which requires big responsibilities. Therefore, the sentence is, as we said, false. Our next sentence is,
if a company has a large workforce, they are rich. Miss Sophie, what do you think this could be?
I think this sentence is false because large workforce does not mean company can make lots of profits. Therefore, they might not be rich.
Exactly.
And we are right. The answer is false. In our next sentence, we have CEOs are never appointed. Mr. Carter, do you remember answer for this one?
I don't. Can you give me a hint?
I can. Do you remember we said that CEO is a position where you often have to be appointed to?
I do remember. So, this must be false.
And you are absolutely right. Let's look at our next sentence.
Sudden losses will lead to the collapse of a company.
I think this sentence is right. I remember we talked about sudden losses and how sudden losses can lead to a collapse of the company.
Right. Any loss is not good, so sudden losses must be very bad.
And you are absolutely right. This sentence is true. And
now, let's move on to our grammar activity in which we will discuss comparative and superlative adjectives.
გაკვეთილის ამ ნაწილში გადავდივართ გრამატიკაზე, სადაც ვისაუბრებთ ზედსართავის სახელების შედარებით და აღმატებით ფორმებზე. Let's start. Mr. Carter, I see here are two sentences given. Profit was higher than last year, and profit of the company from 2017 was the highest. I see that we used the same word, but they are given into different forms. Can you please explain why?
I can, Miss Sophie. So, profit was higher than last year. Higher is a comparative, meaning it compares with two things, high and higher. Profit of the company from 2017 was the highest. That is a superlative. That is more than two things. So, we say the with the article highest.
ინგლისურ ენაში ზედსართავ სახელებს აქვთ ორი ფორმა, შედარებითი და აღმატებითი ხარისხები. იმისათვის რომ ვაწარმოოთ ზედსართავის სახელის შედარებითი ხარისხი, ზედსართავის სახელის ფუძეს უნდა დავუმატოთ დაბოლოება i-არი. ხოლო იმისათვის რომ ვაწარმოოთ ზედსართავის სახელის აღმატებითი ხარისხები, ამისთვის აუცილებელია ზედსართავის სახელის ფუძეს დავუმატოთ დაბოლოება est.
Comparatives and superlatives. We use comparative adjectives to compare two people, places, or things. Profit was higher than last year. High, higher. 1, 2. Comparatives and superlatives. We use than in sentences that compare two people, places, or things. The bank collapsed after losing more than $1 billion. Remember, not then, than. We use superlative adjectives to compare more than two people, places, or things. we use the before the superlative form of the adjective. This is the biggest profit the company has made so far. Big, the biggest. Now let's move on to our grammar activity in which we will match the comparative or superlative with the sentence that they best fit.
ახლა კი მოდით ვივარჯიშოთ ზედსართავ სახელებზე. ეკრანზე მოცემულია წინადადებები, რომლებშიც გამოტოვებულია ზედსართავის სახელები. ერთად მოვიფიქროთ, რომელი ზედსართავის სახელი უკეთ შეესაბამება მოცემულ წინადადებებს. Shall we start?
Let's begin.
My daughter works for one of blank companies in the area. Mr. Carter, what do you think the answer is?
Well, Miss Sophie, the key is companies. So we have to guess it's probably more than two. So it's not higher and it's not more than.
So which leaves us with the two more options, the lowest and the biggest. I think it cannot be the lowest. It does not make sense. Therefore, it is the biggest.
Our next sentence is blank. Twice as many people are unemployed now than a year ago.
So I think here we need the comparative word of the adjective.
Very good, Miss Sophie. More than a year ago. 1 year, so it must mean two things.
And therefore, I think the answer is more than.
Very good, Miss Sophie.
And our next sentence is salaries are blank than at any other time this year. Mr. Carter, I think here we need comparative because of the word then.
Very good, Miss Sophie. So it must be higher.
You are absolutely right. And our last sentence and the quite obvious answer is
he started at blank position in the company, but now he's CEO.
I think he started at the lowest position in the company.
Very good, Miss Sophie. Now it's time for a quick summary of our lesson today.
ახლა კი მოკლედ შევაჯამებთ დღევანდელ გაკვეთილს.
First, we began with vocabulary connected with companies and business.
After that, we had a reading.
After that, we had grammar, learning about comparative and superlative adjectives.
დღეს შევისწავლეთ ახალი სიტყვები, ამის შემდეგ გვქონდა კითხვითი დავალება, შემდეგ კი დავასრულეთ გრამატიკით, ზედსართავის სახელების შედარებითი და აღმატებითი ფორმებით. ახლა კი დროა გადავიდეთ საშინაო დავალებაზე.
Now, let's do everyone's favorite, homework.
For your homework, you need to write a paragraph about the description of the company.
Do not forget to submit your homework to the address on the screen.
We have provided a template for you, but please do not copy. We know you can do better.
It's not that difficult. Just try.
Our next lesson will be about business again. Hope to see you next time. Bye!
Bye-bye.